Hello everybody, this is Danny from Deep South Homestead. We are here on another one of our cottage talks. We're going to be moving into the next phase, let me put it that way. You know, construction comes in phases. You don't just run out and just throw something together and it works. You have to pre-think this thing, and you have to go through phases. So I guess we'll start off with the simple fact is design. Now that we've pretty much decided on what we want to do, Wanda and I have come up with a design that that's going to work for us. Let me put it that way. It's what we want. Now, we took this design to the shed places. We were dealing with 2 or 3 different shed places here, and we first called them and asked them would they build one of their sheds to our specifications. Well, they all said no on that. They all have designs and they stick with them. So we began to do some looking around, and we found a shed place that would come to our property and build the shed that we want to our specifications. Now what we did was, when we contacted them, is we gave them all of our specs on what we wanted in a build, and they agreed to it. They got back with us within a day with a price, and the price was a little bit more than half the cost of one of these sheds already built, which really blew my mind, I'll be honest with you, because I figured it would be at least as much as a shed, but it was a little bit more than half the price of a completed shed. Now, let me explain to you a little bit of the things that we asked for. Number one, it had to have 8-foot ceilings. I'm not going to have anything less than an 8-foot ceiling. I'm a tall guy. This thing of going into these little sheds with these 7-foot ceilings is just, that don't cut it with me. So they agreed to the 8-foot ceilings. That was code. We're trying to stick with code as much as possible here. They agreed to put us a front door in. So we both settled on that. Now what's going to happen is we are going to provide the windows for it, because these sheds that you purchase from these places do not come with insulated windows. I have not found one yet that comes with insulated windows. And if I'm going to have to provide the windows, then I want to provide them here, not at their place. So they agreed to that. I don't like the low pitch 412 roofs on them. It doesn't look like a cabin with that low pitch roof. I don't like the gambrel roofs, the barn shape, whatever you want to call it, because you cannot efficiently heat and cool those, because there's no place for ventilation to go around between the rafters. And me being in the construction business, that is extremely important, because what will happen is it will sweat inside that, and over a period of time it will rot whatever's up there or put mold. So what we done is we asked them would they build us one with an 812 pitch, and they agreed to do an 812 pitch on an on-site build. With an 812 pitch, that gives us more of the cabin look. When we go back and put a porch around it, it will be more of an A-frame up like this on the roof, rather than the flat 412 pitch roofs on it, which is the 412 pitch, and when you're in the construction business, is called a low-income housing. So we didn't want that on our property. Now, since they agreed to do the 812 pitch, I asked to have the lathing, 2x4 lathing for the metal roof, to be notched into the rafters. Not nailed on the top of them, but notched into them. And they agreed to do that. I've given them a detailed set of drawings to which where I want the windows, where I want the doors at, they've agreed to that, no problems. I told them I did not like the fact that it had 2x6s under the bottom of it for floor joists. Being we're going to go with concrete footings, with concrete pillars on the outside edges of the building, they have agreed to install 2x8 floor joists under it rather than 2x6s, because 2x6s under the floor joists is just too flimsy. I like a sturdy floor. The Bible teaches about foundations, and it talks about a good foundation. And if you want a good house, a good building, you need a good foundation. So we're going to go with concrete footings, concrete filled blocks with anchors in them, anchored all the way into the ground, to the rebar in the ground. And we're going to go with the 2x8 floor joists on top of that, anchored to the 2x8 floor joists. So that will give us the foundation that we feel like we need. Now it's the next phase, guys. I mean, we don't do these things lightly. If we're going to spend money and we're going to do something, we want it done right. I don't want something half throwed up, something that's flimsy. I want something that's nice. Now what this will do is this will give us a cathedral ceiling in 3/4 of the cabin with an exposed collar beam across the top of it. And then over the kitchen and bathroom part, it will give us a loft with a ceiling height of a little over 5 feet. Now, or right around 5 foot, let me say that. And we'll probably use that for storage, or we may leave it open. We hadn't quite decided yet whether we're going to leave it open or whether we're going to put an attic door up there and just use it for storage above the kitchen and bathroom. But we may leave it open in case someone ever has kids and they want to sleep in a loft. Really it's going to depend on how well it heats and cools. If it stays too hot, then we'll do away with the loft and just use it for attic storage. But guys, this is one of the next phases that I wanted to talk to you about, is just design, because everything we've talked about here is code. Now we're going to have hurricane straps on it. We're going to have hurricane clips on it. It's going to be anchored to the foundation with anchor bolts. All of the things that's needed to make it a single family dwelling legally. Now we're not going to be living in it permanently, but Wanda and I's theory is if you're going to design something and you're going to build it, then you need to do it up to code, if at all possible, because you never know when you or one of your kids or somebody in the family might need to live in it because something happened to their house. We had a friend here a while back whose mobile home burnt, and they're having to live in the house with somebody else till they can get a new house built. So, if somebody in the family had a place like this and it was where they could move into it and live in it for, say, 6 to 8 months while they had a house built, then it would be worth it. And that's where we're trying to go with this. I mean, we're all about doing something right here at Deep South Homestead. There's nothing we do that we do halfway. And we're going to take y'all along on this journey and show you the way that we do this. I don't know how long it'll take to actually make this come to fruition, because we've got to come up with about $8,000 to $9,000, and I'm not sure where that money's going to come from. So we're gonna start off doing what we can afford to do piece by piece and see how far we can get, because we're trying to stay out of the banks if at all possible. And it's all going to depend on the good Lord and how fast we can raise the money to actually get this thing started. And we're going to take y'all along on this journey to show you how we're going to do it and maybe give y'all some ideas, because look, everybody kept telling us, go with the shed, go with the shed. And we went and looked at them. But you know, we just really, we really wasn't satisfied with the structure of them. So we decided to ask one of the shed places, hey, would y'all consider doing an on-site build? And they said, you know, we're going into a time of the year where we don't move a lot of sheds. They said between March and October, the 1st of October, I would have told you no, because we stay too busy. But from October till February is really a slack time of the year for us, and it's really the seasonal time for everybody, the holidays, and people need money. I said my crew would really probably like to be able to step out and do this. So yeah, I'm going to tell you, we'll do an on-site build for you. So we think that was a blessing. We think that it was the leading of the Lord in doing this, because this way we didn't have to settle for something that we really didn't like. So this way we get what we want, we get it built structurally, and it's a better build. And now what we're going to do, let me mention this, we're going to have it wrapped in 1/2-inch wafer board, or OSB, whichever one you want to call it. And then I'm going to be using a house wrap around the outside of it that's called Type R. It's one that I used on all the houses I built. It's a fiberglass mesh that will last for years, even if it's exposed to the weather. It keeps all the water off of everything, because we don't rightly know how long it'll take to get any kind of siding on it. So we want to try to do all we can to to make sure that the OSB doesn't get wet. So we decided to go with a good house wrap. We don't use this plastic house wrap like goes on the outside of houses, because I've done too much construction going back behind other people, and when you take the siding off of the house, then that stuff just crumbles all to pieces because it's made out of plastic. So we're going to go with Type R, which is a fiberglass woven mesh. Very water resistant. I mean, very good for the elements as far as, not deteriorating. So it's really like building a little tiny house, to be honest with you, because it's going to be built exactly the same way as you would build a modern home, and it's going to be energy efficient. We're going to be trying to use all rock wool insulation in it. We're not going to go with any fiberglass if we can help it. So guys, I'm probably going to stop here today, because we're doing the site prep. We got a video going to be coming up about preparing the site and showing you about what we do and how we're doing that, getting it ready. We'll show you that probably in the next few days or so. And I wanted to come on and do this talk today and tell you about the next phase of actually building or designing your future tiny house, cabin, off-grid cabin, whatever you want to call it. You got to think about design. So thank y'all from Deep South Homestead.